Am I the asshole for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed until my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law Sammy lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters Olivia and Sloan, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloan have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone, accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls and this is typical teenager girl behavior. I completely disagree. The last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloan, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife and she said she asked Sloan to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found out she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this incident. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said, "My girls aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff." He said that Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. Oh, this is where the claws come out. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him that this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed until her brother and his daughters are out of the house. She got mad I was implying we kicked them out and said her family will hate me for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do. So she should start with shaming or blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces and granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. Go Dad, good for you.
Should I tell my mom that my stepdad has been hitting on me, aka her husband? Disclaimer, it's not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. When he put his hand on my lap, I pushed him away and told him he was being disgusting. That's when he grabbed my hand and told me that there was nothing wrong with him appreciating my beauty. And remember, we're at my mom's birthday party. I went over to my mom with the intention to tell her, but she was having so much fun and it was her birthday, I didn't want to spoil it. For the rest of the night, I had to avoid him. He would follow me everywhere and try to grab my hand. I finally went up to my bedroom and locked myself in there. A few days after the party, he came up to me and said, "I need to apologize to you." And I said, "What for?" That's when he said, "You know why." Then he told me he made reservations at a really nice restaurant for us to go to. And of course, I said no. That's when he told me that we were both adults, and that we could hang out together when my mom wasn't around. I said no, and I've been avoiding him since then. But I think avoiding him is doing the opposite. He now started sending me gym selfies. I told him he needed to stop, and he said he just wanted to send me his progress so that I could be proud of him. Ew. Never. I decided that I should move out and I started looking for my own apartment. I thought maybe I should wait until I move out to tell my mom, or maybe not tell her at all. No, this is gonna break her heart and flip her world upside down. He has a really comfy life with him, but I don't think that's worth losing me, right? How should I tell my mom? My biggest fear is that she doesn't believe me. What should I do? Story time about how I did the dirty with my sister's boyfriend. Whoops. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I sent me on Instagram. My sister and I didn't actually grow up together. I grew up with my dad and she mostly grew up with my mom. Growing up, we were really competitive, like in every single way. But for the most part, we had each other's backs. She's a year older than me, so we weren't in the same grade. I got bullied a lot in high school and she always defended me. Finally, when we graduated from high school, our relationship got a lot better. We stopped competing in everything and our parents actually got back together. This was the happiest moment of our lives. We were all living under the same roof and my parents had started a new business. My sister and I started helping them with their business, and it grew a lot. We were financially stable and we were even able to buy a beach house. Every single weekend we would go as a family and with friends. Now when it came to boys, we had the same taste. This unfortunately led us to have a lot of fights. She would meet a guy and I would like him, or I would meet a guy and she would like him. But we never actively tried to steal each other's boyfriends. Also, our parents were really strict, so my sister and I had to go behind their back to have boyfriends. When I turned 19, I met this really sweet guy. We fell in love. I thought we were gonna get married. My parents were totally against me having a boyfriend, but I told them that I was old enough to make my own decisions. The only person who actually really supported me was my sister. She was able to convince my parents to accept him. So they did. He would come over and have dinner with us. We would go out on dates, and eventually he asked my parents for my hand in marriage. But my parents said no. They said I was too young. So he ended up breaking up with me, which was really bad. Then my sister met a guy. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I did the dirty with my sister's boyfriend, and should I tell her? Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. So after my boyfriend broke up with me, I was really heartbroken. This was around the time that my sister met her boyfriend, the one that I did it with. They started dating really casually, and he made it clear to her that he did not want to be in a relationship with her. And my parents did not like that at all. So basically, he was not allowed to come to our house whatsoever. And the thing is, I never even saw his face. My sister showed me his Instagram, but he didn't really have a lot of pictures of himself. I didn't even know what his face looked like. After a few weeks, I told my parents that I wanted to start dating people, and they were so against this. Like I said, my parents are really strict. So here's what I did. I signed up to a bunch of dating apps, and I just started going on dates behind their back. And I know that I'm 19, but I still respected everything my parents told me because I lived under the roof. So I started going on a bunch of dates. And can you guess who I ended up matching with? Yep, my sister's boyfriend. Although I didn't know it was her boyfriend at the time. He and I ended up going on 2 dates. It was amazing, it was wonderful, it was great. He was super charming and really funny. And I did ask him if he was seeing other people, and he said no. But of course, that was a total lie. I even talked to my sister about this guy. I mean, how sick is that? So here's what ended up happening. He and I go back to his place and we do it. The next day, he totally ghosts me. And this is when I started investigating part 3.
Story time about how I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me on Valentine's Day. Ugh, we love it, don't we? I love how red my face gets after I put on my moisturizer. So a little background information. I was 16 years old and a sophomore in high school, and I had just started dating this boy who was a year older than me, and he was a junior. And before we had started dating, I was actually his Spanish tutor, and we were both in the same friend group. Now, when I first met him, I actually had been dating this one guy, well, talking to this one guy who was a complete douche, and that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, we had been dating for 2 months at this point. You know, we started dating in December, and he really didn't take our relationship seriously, if that's a good way to put it. I had never had a serious relationship before this. He never had a girlfriend before this, so, which is not an excuse for what he did. But anyways, now a little backstory on him and this girl. So this girl had been in his Spanish class, and she was a freshman at the time, and I guess he had like a little crush on this girl. Now back then, I was the very jealous type. Anytime I saw him Snapchatting a girl or even talking to a girl, I got extremely worried. I'm like, oh my god, like he's cheating on me, you know? We're gonna call this girl Erica. So after school, I used to go to my boyfriend's work and hang out until he was done. So the one day I go to his work after school with him, and he goes to the bathroom, and somehow his phone ends up in my sticky little finger. What a coincidence, right? And while I'm on his phone, I go onto his Snapchat, and he had been Snapchatting this girl named Erica. I had no idea who Erica was at the time. Like, I did not know that this girl existed. I couldn't put her name to a face. So I'm like freaking out, and I text my best friend, and I'm like, OMG, like, you know, I think he's cheating on me, you know, like he's been Snapchatting this girl a lot. And my best friend and I, you know, we become little detectives, and she had no idea who she was either. So I looked up her Snapchat username on Instagram, and I found out who she was. She was a freshman in my boyfriend's Spanish class. So I think I had told one of our mutual friends about this, and about how I was worried about him, and I thought that he was cheating on me with this girl. Well, they had told him, and the next morning, I wake up to a text from my boyfriend at the time saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you felt like that, like we're just friends, blah blah blah, every other lie in the freaking book. And I said, listen, I just don't feel comfortable with you Snapchatting her as your girlfriend. It just doesn't make me feel good. So he was like, okay, like I'll stop Snapchatting her, like I'll block her. Meanwhile, this kid didn't know how to even block people on Snapchat at the time. Like I said, lies after lies after lies. Anyways, so he says that he would block her, and I felt way better about the situation. By the way, this was like in January. This wasn't even near Valentine's Day, right? So then I realized when we were together, he would be more secretive about his phone. He wouldn't leave his phone around me. He wouldn't leave it open around me. The one day while I was at his house, I had Snapchatted him, and I didn't even see his phone go off, and it was sitting right next to us. And I was kind of peeping over his shoulder, and I realized that he had turned off his Snapchat notifications. If that is not sus, I really don't know what is. And I knew before that his phone was never like that. And like I said, this kid did not know how to work a freaking phone for his life or anything technology for crap. So I knew that somebody had to have taught him that, and it wasn't me. So that was really sus to me. And then this Spanish project came up, and our teacher said that we could work with people from different classes, and I was super excited because I was like, oh my gosh, like my boyfriend and I can work on this together. You had to make some food for the class. So I asked him if he wanted to work together on this project because I was his tutor at the time. And he was like, no, I'm gonna work with this other girl in my class. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I was like, oh, who are you gonna work with? And he had told me this one girl, and I low-key didn't like her either because she had a crush on my boyfriend, and I just thought it was weird, and I wouldn't want him going over her house to work on a project with her. As simple as that. Well, I kept begging him to work on this project with me, and he's like, fine, whatever, I don't care. So the next day I'm in school and I'm in my Spanish class, and my teacher asked me who I'm gonna be working with, and I said, oh, I'm gonna be working with my boyfriend. And she looks at me weird and she's like, but I already have him paired with some other girl. And of course it was Erica. So at this point I'm livid because of course he told me that they had stopped talking. So I had confronted him about it, and he was like, no, like she said that we would be a better fit partner-wise for this project, which is not even true because the first time that him and I started hanging out, we had went into my Spanish class to get my books before we left for the day. We walked in and my Spanish teacher was like, oh, like you should let her tutor you. So yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. So we got in a fight about that, you know. He was like, okay, like, you know, I'll stop talking to her, blah, 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 blah. Well, then Valentine's Day rolls around, and it ended up being on a school day. So as soon as I woke up, I sent this huge paragraph to my boyfriend at like 4 in the morning saying how much I can't wait to spend the day with him and yada yada yada. Oh my god, I'm crying. No! So we had saw each other in school that day. He never replied to my message or even opened it. And when I saw him in school, he was acting really weird. Like he didn't say hi to me. He didn't meet me at my locker like he usually did. So I texted him and I asked him if everything was okay. And he texted me back saying, yeah, why? What do you mean why? And I had said to him, to him, well, it's Valentine's Day, you never answered my message, you haven't said hi to me all day. Another thing that I cannot do on camera, or for the life of me, my eyeliner. Anyways, so he says, oh, sorry, I haven't been on my phone all day. Typical liar. And I really haven't been up for talking, but thanks. That's all he has to say to the whole paragraph that I sent him, that I poured my young sophomore heart out into. So my best friend's boyfriend was best friends with my boyfriend at the time, and I had told my best friend about it, she told her boyfriend about it, and then her boyfriend told my boyfriend about it, if that makes sense. So a little bit later, I get this sad apology / Valentine's Day paragraph from my boyfriend. He's like, sorry about earlier, I didn't know that things like this meant anything to you. I've never had a girlfriend before, so this is all new to me. Now that part, he may have got away with if he was smart, but he's not. Idiot. You know, me just trying to be the understanding girlfriend that I was like, oh, it's okay, you know, like, I didn't expect you to send one anyways. It was just a little upsetting that I didn't get a happy Valentine's Day or anything. And he was like, don't worry, tonight we'll make up for it. So later on, I'm at my house getting ready to go out with him for Valentine's Day. And we lived like probably 10 minutes away from each other. So him and his mom came and picked me up. And as soon as I got in the car, he gave me some flowers with some chocolates. I thought it was really sweet. And I was like shocked because my family didn't have a lot of money, so we never really went to like super fancy restaurants. This was like a little over the top for me. So we get inside, we order our food, and I'm sitting there trying to make conversation with him, and he's just playing on his phone the whole time. And I'm talking like he was playing on his phone for a whole like 25 minutes. Like literally until we got our freaking meal. So when we got our meal, I grabbed our phones and I was like, I want to talk to you. I want to spend time with you. Please stop playing on your phone. So we put our phones on the one side of the table and he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. So while I'm sitting there waiting for my boyfriend to get back, he gets a notification on his phone. And my boyfriend just got a new phone like 2 days before this, and I guess he forgot to turn off notifications for Snapchat. Because while I'm sitting there, I grab his phone to look at this notification and it says Snapchat from Streak. He actually got this idea from me. Anytime that I had a streak with somebody on Snapchat, I would put streak and then an emoji and then their name. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's weird that he just has somebody in his phone randomly named Streak. So what do? I go through his phone. Duh. What else am I gonna freaking do? Sit there and be like, oh, this is sus, but I'm not gonna touch it. No. I wasn't gonna sit there on Valentine's Day and get fucked over.